All right, so in this lesson, we are going to switch gears away from equations, and we're going to start something called inequalities. You have actually seen some inequalities before, but there will also be some that are new to you. So your goal for today is I can graph inequalities on a number line. So we're going to bring back the number line. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to do a little bit of talking in the beginning and not a lot of writing. So we want to think of the words minimum and maximum because those are going to be really important, okay? So let's look at some examples of those. All right, at an amusement park, you will often see signs like this that say you have to be at least 48 inches to drive or at least 42 inches to ride. So that means at a minimum, you have to be that tall. You can be taller, but at a minimum, you have to be tall. There are also some situations where you may have a maximum. So for example, in an elevator, you often will see this sign saying, do not exceed maximum capacity. And that means that you can have no more than 16 people. Sometimes it has a specific weight limit on it. And that's so that the elevator doesn't break. And usually we have minimums or maximums for safety reasons. You also have the speed limit, which is another obvious safety reason. So in this case, there's a maximum speed of 30 miles per hour. Can you go lower? Yes. Can you do exactly 30? Yes, but you are not supposed to do over 30. Also, another safety issue would be bridges and highways. So next time you're out driving, look for this sign. What that means is that if you have a truck that weighs over 3 tons, and you've heard of tons, you know that 2,000 pounds is 1 ton from when we did converting units. But that bridge, if it's over 6,000 pounds, over 3 tons, it cannot drive. And the reason why is because it can damage the bridge. The bridge can fall. So it is a maximum of 3 tons. All right, now that we have our mind on minimums and maximums, let's do a little bit review of some number lines here. So I want to graph each one of these on the number line. And I always want you to start with 0 in the middle. Okay, so we know that positive is going this way and negative is going the other way. So we're going to do, we need to graph, by the way, x equals 4. So we're going to graph 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the other way is negative. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. So where is x equals 4? Well, it's right here. Let's try another one, x equals 3. I want you to always start with 0 in the middle. And we're going to go 1. Oops, that's not a 1, that's a 2. We're going to go 1, and 2, and 3. And then the other way is negative. Negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3. And we need to find x equals 3, and it is right here. All right, let's do another review. X equals negative 2. So again, I always want you to start in the middle with 0, and we're going to go 1, 2. And then let's go the other way. Negative 1, negative 2. So where is x equals negative 2? Right over here. And let's do one more. X equals negative 1. So we're going to start in the middle with 0, and we're going to go 1, and then the other way, negative 1. And where is x equals negative 1? Right here. Okay, so we've gotten our brain back into number lines, and we have our brain on minimums and maximums. And so now we're going to talk about some inequalities. So an inequality, it compares two expressions, and it has an inequality symbol. Now you already know two inequality symbols. You know this one is greater than, and this is less than. And make sure you fill in these words on your guided notes. Greater than or more than, less than, fewer than. But I'm going to introduce two new ones to you. This is the less than sign, but it has a bar under it. And what that means is it's a greater than sign with a bar under it. What it means is greater than or equal to. Okay, so that's what we call it. Greater than or equal to. Okay, this one right here is a less than sign with a bar under it. So it means less than or equal to. And again, make sure that you pause the video so that you can get all of those words onto your guided notes. Okay, so we have one last piece of information before we start graphing, and that is the importance of the variable. So once we start graphing, I'm going to give you something that looks like this. X is less than 2, and I'm going to show you how to graph that in a minute. But the important thing is that this variable is on the left-hand side and the number is on the right-hand side. But sometimes I'm going to get tricky with you, and I'm going to give you something that looks like this, where the number's on the left and the variable's on the right. And so what I need you to do is flip it around, flip everything. So you're going to put the letter in the front, the number in the back, and you're going to flip that sign around. Okay, so let's try this one, because here the number's on the wrong side. We're going to put the letter in the front, the number in the back, and we're going to flip the sign around. And you'll get good practice with that in just a second. All right, the other thing that you need to know is that when you have a less than sign or greater than sign, you're going to use an open circle. And an open circle looks like this. It's not colored in, okay? So an open circle. All right, so let's try a couple examples, and I've already numbered the number line for you to make it easier. So X is greater than 2. So what you need to do is you need to find 2 on the number line. So here's 2 right here, okay? Now, we just talked about this sign right here means an open circle. So I'm going to put an open circle on top of the 2. Okay, easy enough. Now, look at this sign. If the greater than sign was an arrow, which way would it be pointing? It would be pointing this way. So what you're going to do is take your pencil and draw an arrow going that way. And that is it. That's all it is to graphing. Okay? Now let's try this one. Now some of you might have had some red flags go off because you said that number is supposed to be on the other side, and you're right. So I'm going to put the letter on the left, the number on the right, and I'm going to flip the sign. Now let's find -3. So here's -3. When we have just this normal sign, we have an open circle. And if this sign right here was an arrow, which way would it be pointing? This way, to the right. So I'm going to take my pencil and draw the arrow all the way to the right. And that is how you graph it. Now, when you have a greater than sign with a bar under it, or a less than sign with a bar under it, you need to have a closed circle. And a closed circle is one that is all the way colored in. Oops, all the way colored in. So here's another closed circle right there. So let's practice a couple of those. Okay, so we have X is less than or equal to -4. So here's -4, and because it has a bar under it, it's going to be a closed circle. Okay, now look at this sign. I'm going to just draw it a little bit bigger. Ignore the bar for a minute. If this was an arrow, which way would it be pointing? This way. So I'm going to draw the arrow this way, and that's how you graph it. Now I know your red flags went up again with this one right here because you said the number's on the wrong side. So we have to put the letter on the left, the number on the right, and flip that sign around. Okay, so find 6. Here's 6. Because we have a bar underneath, we're going to have a closed circle. And if this was an arrow, which way would it be pointing? this way. So we're going to draw the arrow to the left. All right, I want you to go ahead and try these three, and I will also do them, but only look at it if you need to check your answers. Remember when you use an open circle and a closed circle. Okay, pause the video if you're not done because I'm going to go over the answers. So for number 1, we had 4 right here, and the arrow is pointing to the right. For number 2, we had the arrow, we had it on the -2, and the arrow is pointing to the left. And then for number 3, the dot, it was a closed dot, and it was on the 0, and the arrow was pointing to the right. All right, go ahead and try these as well. Pay special attention to when you have an open circle or a closed circle. Okay, if you're not done, go ahead and pause the video. So, for number 4, our dot is on the -3 and the arrow is pointing to the left. For number 5, the dot, it's an open dot and it's on the 0 and the arrow is pointing to the left as well. And then for number 6, we have a closed dot on the number 1 and the arrow is going to go towards the left. Oh, those were just the answers. All right, that is the end of this lesson. I hope that you enjoyed the beginning of inequalities. We're going to work more with inequalities as it goes on. But remember to ask me any questions you have in class.